Right, everybody. So the purpose of this meeting is for us to know more about you and how we can help you with the Zoho CRM. Yes. So lots of you have many of you have raised the question on uh, switching from HubSpot to Zoho. So Seb is here to answer all of your questions if you have. David, last week well, a couple of weeks ago you mentioned that you want to unsubscribe people if you have someone in your database and you want to unsubscribe that person from your HubSpot, and you want to unsubscribe that person in Zoho as well. How will that happen? So Seb, do you want to answer this question?
So sorry, was that question if somebody, so no limits in Zoho, but somebody else using HubSpot, did you say?
Yeah,
or someone else using Zoho?
Should I put a bit of context around the situation we're in at the moment?
Please.
So I've had HubSpot ever since I started with Action Coach. So most of my data, or all of my data, is going into HubSpot, which we use as a live CRM to manage inquiries, follow-ups, etc., etc. And then clearly we've got the Zoho database for the no limits content. What we want to do is make sure that the two are talking together. And ultimately, I'd like to probably switch over to Zoho, but that's another conversation. But it's making sure whatever we do in HubSpot is then we're updating and reflecting in Zoho. So if I load somebody to HubSpot, getting it loaded to Zoho so that it gets into the no limits community, somebody from HubSpot unsubscribes to an email, or we have to remove them for whatever reason, then it's reflected in Zoho without causing too many conversations, too many emails and things, which means that potentially somebody's going to get missed.
Okay. Yeah, perfect. So I've not thought about it in the instance of somebody using HubSpot and someone using Zoho, but it doesn't matter because the general principle is the same. So there's two elements to this as I see it. One is the important one, I guess, is the opt-out one, obviously from a GDPR point of view and everything else. So if somebody opts out of no limits, or they opt out of any of you guys individually, then you're saying, David, I think, that you want to reflect that in the opposite platform, whichever way around.
Yeah, both of them need to be congruent, don't they? So if one opts out on one, it reflects in the other one, so we're not crossing over.
Yeah. So from an opt-out point of view, my proposal was going to be that we basically have an alert system. So we have an alert system when somebody opts out of no limits, which is easy enough to do in Zoho. Now that alert would go to probably two places, I would suggest. One is Karen, so that she can see it and be aware of it. And the other would be the appropriate coach. So if it's someone in your name, David, or someone in your name, Duncan, or so on and so forth, you also get an email alert that comes to you. That would mean that you can then very easily and quickly just make sure they're unsubscribed in your system. The systems aren't going to talk that comprehensively that it can update and make sure you're opt out in the other one. And so it's going to have to be a manual process, but in order to make it as quick and as seamless as possible, the notification should be automatic. So Karen doesn't have to go and look for someone that's opted out to make sure that she tells you, David, you'll just get an email.
Yeah.
That's my proposal for that. And the other reason for that is because obviously it needs to be quick and fairly real time, or as close to as possible, because if someone opts out this morning and then Karen sends something this afternoon and you haven't had a chance to reflect that, then they're going to be pretty annoyed, I would imagine. And so sending out an email means that you can get to it as quickly as possible anyway, as opposed to waiting any length of time. So that's my proposal for the opt out. The other side of it is the lead sharing piece. I think that you alluded to, which is basically, so the no limits community is growing, and obviously the database is therefore growing. And I think your point, David, quite rightly, is that if 10 people join the no limits community in your name or your territory next week, obviously you want that data to be reflected in your CRM so that you can market to them. And likewise, if you're growing your database of leads, then you want to pass any additional or any new leads over to the no limit side so that they can benefit from it as well.
Yeah.
So my proposal for that was going to be that, or is, and I'm open to feedback, is that we do something similar to what I just said about the opt-out, but rather than every time a lead comes in, passing it over, because that's going to get messy. And obviously, if it grows as quickly as everyone would like it to, there's going to be loads of this flying around, is that we do it at set intervals, weekly, monthly, quarterly, bi-weekly, whatever we decide is appropriate. And it's done as an export. We can automate this. Well, certainly in the case of Zoho, we can automate this. I'm not sure about the case of HubSpot. I guess we probably can. We'd need to do some digging and having a look at it. But we can do some automatic exports over to, again, the appropriate coach. So you in this case, David, so that you've got that new data. Might be 2 leads, it might be 20 leads, it might be 100 leads that you then need to put into your relevant CRM system.
Yeah.
Now, just to finish on that, if somebody is using Zoho, so David, if you were using Zoho your side as well, that becomes a lot easier because we can pull the data out in the Zoho friendly format and you can push it back in very quickly and easily. And we can get that kind of templated and set up for you. Would need to look at it in HubSpot. We do an awful lot of taking people from HubSpot to Zoho, but putting stuff into HubSpot is something I'd need to just do a bit of digging around and making sure we're sure about how it works. But in principle, it's very easy and doable.
Okay.
And I'm proposing that for everyone, by the way. So what I'm suggesting is that each week or each month or each whatever period everyone agrees, there is a automatic report that goes to the appropriate coach, and it's just got the data in it basically. So nobody has to do anything with it apart from make sure it's in the right system. It's not a manual task for anyone on the no limit side or for anyone on the coach's side.
So if I move across to Zoho, then are both of those, are they both able to be automated? The opt-out and the lead sharing?
Yes. So the opt-out bit, yes, easy. And the lead sharing, basically, in your system, David would set it up that happens at a set interval, the lead sharing over to Karen and vice versa.
Yeah.
So yes.
So we wouldn't have any manual intervention needed, i.e. get a report and then have to do any, if we're in Zoho to Zoho.
You would still have to push the file to Zoho, but you wouldn't have to do any work within it to make it work, to make it fit, if that makes sense. So it'd be a 5-minute task every however often we set it up for.
Okay.
So they're the two bits that I've got here: lead sharing and opt out. So does anyone have any questions on any of those, or any better ideas or suggestions or feedback?
So one of the most common questions that coaches were having, they want to transition from their normal CRM system to Zoho, and they want to. What's the easiest way for them to transition?
Give me a call, and we can we can set it up. In what way do you mean, Salman? When you say the easiest way?
So coaches, they are suggesting that they would use the no limit CRM system as a trial to check whether Zoho is for them or not.
Okay. So I mean that's doable. I mean, I'm not sure. I'm generally not a fan of people trialing live systems for obvious reasons. Particularly not multiple people at any one time. We could set up our end a demo account that is configured that you could use for a couple of days or a couple of weeks to have a poke around with no live real data in it. That might be a better way of doing it, Salman.
Yes. Duncan has raised a question. Yes, Duncan.
I was just going to comment, if I may. I've just gone over from HubSpot to Zoho. With Seb and Jacob, I've been a nightmare for them for the last couple of weeks. Just a couple of things that I would like to mention. I'm getting to know Zoho, and my biggest pro or plus or with Zoho compared to HubSpot, I found, and I had the market starter pack. I found that HubSpot was overly complicated, had too much stuff, if that makes sense. Where Zoho has apps that you can add as and when you require it. I think that's quite cool. Just a big warning though, Action Coach Global doesn't support Zoho. So when I wanted to go and hook up my, because I'm still on a .com, and I wanted to go and hook up my Outlook calendar to Zoho. I needed permissions. I went to global and they said, no, go away. Have a nice day. We don't do that.
Yeah. So that's a good point, Duncan. So anyone using Zoho should be using it on their actioncoach.co.uk domain, which is Gmail. So I think I'm right in saying anyone I've spoken to on this call is doing that already. But yeah, that's a very good point, Duncan.
I use .com for the Outlook desktop.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Fine. Okay. So the sync with calendars and the sync with emails in Zoho, basically, if you try to link it with .com, it as Duncan rightly says, it goes to for approval somewhere in the States. I don't know who it goes to, but it goes for approval, and it just nothing happens with it basically. So whereas the .co.uk one doesn't need any approval, the approval is yourself basically, is at your level, as Duncan's found out. So
which David is not necessarily a train smash. I had a whole bunch of head trash around it on Friday, and then sort of this last one over the weekend. It's just different. It's just
there are some benefits to it, I have to say, around the. So if you think about it, pretty much everyone in the world who is an action coach is using actioncoach.com. Not, I say pretty much, the vast majority are using it. And so from a domain perspective, domain authority and positive score, actually using the .co.uk one, which is used by a much smaller subset of people, is probably not a bad thing. But we certainly haven't had any issues with anyone using .co.uk in the UK. But yes, good point, Duncan. Thank you.
Nick and Simak, you both had a question last week, which I can't remember on top of my head, regarding Zoho.
It was really that transition that Duncan's sort of alluded to, but also the first part about, you know, when we set this up, I think there was an understanding or a belief that we were going to get access to Zoho for a period of time that I think I didn't realise it was just for 3 months, to actually look and see if it's the right decision to make. And I can understand why Seb's against that, but I did have that view that we were going to be able to have a look at the system. I think that's my question. If it's not possible, then okay.
It's definitely possible. It's up to you guys, Sam, and it's not up to me. Obviously, that's just my suggestion. Is that I'm just always, when there's live data in there and emails going out and marketing emails going out and stuff, I'm always just a bit nervous about it. But
Correct.
But yeah, I mean, it's your call ultimately, Sam and Karen.
I
can facilitate it very easily.
I have a suggestion. What
Sorry,
if we create sandbox for each one of them?
Oh, that's a good idea.
Can you explain what sandbox is, Jacob?
Yeah, so everyone will be using Karen's ID because she's the only user right now. We'll give you a special link. You access Zoho CRM only through that link.
Mm-hmm.
And it basically gives you all the features of Zoho CRM. The only thing is there's no data in it.
So
it's not live. It's like a demo account within the account, essentially. So we use it, just to give some context, we use it with customers. So when we're setting up, when we've got a customer who's got a live account, we've got one at the moment who's been using it for years and years and years, we obviously don't want to make any changes in that live environment. We make the changes in the sandbox so that so the live environment is protected, and then should they want to go ahead with the changes, we switch it over. So that's not a bad suggestion, Jacob. We could do that.
And Jacob, in that case, they will be using my credentials, right?
Yeah.
Do they have to, Jacob, or can we just set up one more dummy one for them to use for this?
Yeah, we can do that as well. Or at the best, just do a demo account and then go on the 30-day free trial.
My question, sorry, Sam, my question is because sometimes I get logged out, and when I want to log in again, it sends me a verification code to my mobile.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty much the reason of the question, because if they are using my credentials and they are going in whatever time, do they need to have a verification code that will be sending out to my mobile or something like that?
No, I know why Jacob suggested it, but no, I think we'll just use a secondary login for everyone to share. So I'm happy, Salmon and Karen, to chat through the two. If everyone else is happy with the two proposed ideas, one is a demo account, which will take me a couple of days just to get set up, which you can log into and play around with to your heart's content. And the second is a sandbox inside the live environment. If we just discuss the pros and cons of those, Sam and Karen, then I'm happy from our side to action whichever one we think is the right thing to do.
Simek has a question. Simek has raised a hand. Simek, please can you unmute?
Hey, Seb, a quick one. So I'm using my .co.uk for my action coach territory and the .com for the no limits one. The question is, if the users opt out from no limits for various reasons, right? I have the same user set in my territory-based account too. How do I go about doing that? And I want to automate it as much as possible.
If a do you mean if a lead or a contact opts out?
That is correct.
Yeah. So if somebody opts out in I think you just said in no limits first. So if they opt out of no limits, we will automate an email that comes to you, which basically says, "Hi Simak, Mr. ABC Limited or ABC Smith has unsubscribed from the No Limits platform. Please ensure that this is reflected in your marketing." And then basically you would make sure the same thing happens in.
Can it not be synchronized because it's Zoho to Zoho?
I don't think so.
What's the name of the application?
In CRM.
But Zoho, it's the same Zoho CRM, Jacob. So,
okay.
So I have.
So Simak has it independently of No Limits, like Duncan does. So his question is, can you sync it? I don't think you can. The unsubscribe, I mean, or the opt out.
We'll have to do it like a Zoho sheet view and then use Zoho Flow to connect another organization externally.
Okay.
Yeah, it's same as import-export accounts, right?
Do you think? Okay. And how easy is that to do, Jacob?
It's a one-time setup using Zoho Flow in order to have the real-time sync. The best option is always to export and import and just update it. But then if you want like a real-time sync using Zoho Flow.
How many opt-outs are we getting? Are we just talking about kind of 1 a month per person, or are we talking about 10 a day? Like,
I think in all these conversations, it's all early days, Seb, right? We're just lifting off right now.
Yeah.
And when we start operating in anger, that's when we need to avoid all these problems, avoid these overheads, and try and automate as whatever we can as quickly as possible. Even now, we're having a dependency on the No Limits team to either send out that email. Then someone within my team will have to keep monitor the emails that person has subscribed. So
yeah, we would automate the one from No Limits, to be clear. But you're right, someone at your end would have to action it. So Jacob, I'm happy to if you're happy to just do some investigation into that, into the setup of that, then we could look at it.
Okay.
I take your point, Simak. Obviously, I'm guessing the numbers are very small at the moment of people opting out. But you're right. In 6 months' time, they could be a lot bigger.
So are we happy with the sandbox strategy?
I'd like to just catch up with Jacob afterwards on Sandbox, just to make sure that they're going to get the full effect of it. Otherwise, we'll do the demo one. But we can definitely, from our side, I can definitely commit to one or the other, so that I'll have something to use.
Seb, just a quick one. What's the difference between the demo and the sandbox?
The sandbox will be within No Limits, and the demo will just be a separate account that we'll just set up on demo. We'll do a demo account, and we'll replicate the setup of the action coach, flow and everything else.
Okay.
Can I just jump in there then? In that case, I think for the demo side of it, it's probably better to do the action coach from my perspective than anybody else, but it's more the action coach business as opposed to the No Limits business, because that's what I'd be using it for predominantly.
Yeah, that's part of my thinking as well. Is the action coach setup is the 13-step kind of principle with the mentor agreements and business background questionnaires, none of which is obviously in the No Limits one. That's part of my thinking.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay.
Perfect. Are we happy with everything then? Jacob,
Simak's got another question.
So the other question is on Zoho CRM. I do have a view of the accounts and all the revenue generated. And when it comes to No Limits, I think the question is how is that being facilitated, because you can see the whole lead pipeline flow, everything that's going through or whatever, from initiation to code phase or whatever, and you have maybe membership will have a different. I still need to get my head around what the membership kind of lifeline is or the life cycle is. All right, on the account.
Have you? So Karen or Salman, I'm not sure who to direct this to. Have you shared the dashboards for No Limits for the territories?
Yes, we have. All of them have their own links, so they can constantly check, and also they have access to my link as well.
Right, because that gives the best from a No Limits perspective. That gives the best view of activity and progress and sign-ups and everything else. I'm conscious that they were built, I don't know, 4 or 5 weeks ago. And if there's any feedback or any adjustments or anything, obviously we'd like to make those. So yeah, please let me know, Simak or anyone else, if there's anything on there that you'd like to see that's not there, or vice versa. But that's definitely the cleanest, safest way of getting that data to you in a live manner as well. I think it's only 30 seconds out of date in terms of its liveness, if that's a word.
Okay, I'll have a look again. From a revenue perspective, that's where I'm coming, because we've not been hitting those numbers right now.
Perfect.
Just on those reports.
Yeah.
Memory serves me correct. Are they the total No Limits report statistics, or are they broken down per coach and database? It is it?
There's both, yeah. So Karen's one has got a drop down to select the coach individually, and then it shows the total. But then there's a link for each of you, which just shows yours. You can't see anything else basically. It just shows your anyone with a contact with a postcode in your territory, and if there's not a postcode present, then it's someone that you've referred basically that puts them in your territory. So it's your data basically.
Okay.
And if neither of those things are true, then they're manually assigned by Karen. So I don't know if you want to reshare those afterwards, Karen and Salman, just to make sure everyone's got those.
Okay. So are we happy now with the plan? Has anybody got any other questions?
So I'll do two things, or we'll do two things, Jacob and I. We will have a chat with you, Salman, and you, Karen, about the demo thing and just get that ball rolling. And we will investigate whether the Sheets solution for opting out is the right solution, or whether we need to revert to plan A and then look at something else for the for the opt out.
Okay.
Is there a view only option to be able to see the data that we've got in our Zoho No Limits database without then messing up marketing campaigns and things like that?
View only, not really. What would you want to see, David?
It's just being able to see the data that's in there and be able to cross-check and cross-reference when I need to.
We can display that in the dashboard view, can't we, Jacob? I think we showed the new signups, but we can show all records in the table view.
Yeah, in fact, the link which we shared with you guys on that dashboard, you can click onto it and you can see view underlying data. There's an option there.
Okay.
Could you just show it, Jacob? Could you just throw it up on the screen quickly?
I have the consolidated one right now, which I can share. Just give me a second.
We'll get these resent afterwards. Obviously.
This is the consolidated one, which is for the entire No Limits.
Yeah.
So I can actually select, like, say, for example, for David, okay. And then we've given the list over here, but you can always, if you want to click on any of the graphs and click view underlying data.
Okay.
And you'll actually see that list as well.
Right.
And sorry, it might be a stupid question, Jacob, but they can definitely see that despite not being logged in.
Yeah, just give me 1 second. I'll recheck it right away.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say, for example, for David. This is the link. Now, if I to David's, this is here, but for the graphs, I'll have to enable the settings. Give me a second.
Oh, there you go. For underlying data.
Also,
So yeah, since
yeah, that's how you do it.
and the same is true of the contacts further down, or the members.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Can you just make sure that's replicated across all of them, Jacob?
Yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, I'll make a note of it.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. So that should give you, I think, the most in-depth view without obviously being in the system. We'll then set up a demo account for you to have a play around with, all of you to have a play around with, and then we'll investigate the opt-out piece to see if we can automate that. We can definitely automate the instruction. It's whether we can automate the action in the opposing CRM, if you like. Is that all right, Simon?
Yes, that's fine. That's perfect.
Okay, perfect. Perfect. Okay, and I think all of you have got my details, but in fact, I'm sure you have, because I've spoken to you all individually. So if anyone's got any questions afterwards, just give me a shout, drop me an email, or give me a call, and we can cover those off. But I'll come back to you, Salmon and Karen, later on this afternoon, once I've had a chat with Jacob.
No worries. No worries.
Perfect. Great stuff.
Well, lovely guys. Take care.
Brilliant. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Take it.